and premium. The revolution was led by one man and one man alone, Marvin Shanken, and Cigar Aficionado magazine. Marvin had been rating wines quite successfully for Wine Spectator magazine, and he brought the rating system to cigars. The first cigars rated in the 90s were gone in a flash. Even now, the first thing I do when I get my magazine is I go right to the ratings page. Here it is. 93, 91. Oh yeah, I'll go for that one. Then there'll be 94. Whew, 92. Problem is you got to get there fast because they go fast. This revolutionized the cigar industry and quality rose to the top. Then there's the Cigar of the Year. Try to get them as fast as possible because they're gone pretty quick. This magazine revolutionized the industry. And I'll tell you what, this month is Cigar of the Year. Cigar of the Year. What are these for? Cigar of the Year. You better get this magazine quick, because these cigars are going to be gone very, very quickly. Go to the link on our website and order it. And you'll be able to get down to your cigar store and get to smoke a few of these, and you let me know which ones you like better, because we can have a really good conversation about it. Sometimes I do agree with Marvin, and when I don't, I let my opinion be known, and Marvin usually says, stick to the law. Also, along with rated cigars, there are articles on politics, sports, interesting profiles, and Marvin also has Wine Spectator, Spirit Advocate. If you like wine, if you like scotch, if you like bourbon, if you like rye, if you like vodka, if you like gin, they're the magazines for you. And you know what? Subscribe to Cigar Aficionado right now through the link on our website. Welcome back, and we're here with Joe Lhota, who is discussing with us this terrible situation we have with coronavirus and giving us some very, very good practical advice. The last one being, don't go to the emergency room.
Don't necessarily go. You know, modern healthcare now is about telehealth. You can actually talk to a professional and see them using your iPhone or iPad or any smartphone device. Talk to a doctor. It's allowable now, and you can, the doctor will give you advice as to what to do. And if they determine you should come in, then you come in. And
right. Otherwise, you're going to have people potentially with symptoms, riding subways, going on buses, walking the streets, going in stores. The best thing to do if you have these symptoms is stay put.
Let me do a little advertising. I mean, a hospital and medical facility uses the telehealth. You can literally, I've seen people use it when they've seen a burn on their hand, and they'll actually put their hand up to the phone and look at it. Next thing you know, the doctor has ordered a salve to go on, and they go to the CVS and pick it up, or any drugstore, not necessarily that one.
So, what's the prognostication here? What are we going to see happen? I mean, the numbers right now are growing so fast.
Right.
That by the time this is on, they're probably going to be double.
My hope is numbers are going to go up, but my hope is the American people are going to understand that it's like the flu. You can get it. It's not going to kill you, but just need to take the proper precautions. And if you are prone to respiratory illnesses, and if you're if you have a compromised immune system, you've got to take extra precautions. And and if you do get it, and if you do have it, you need to be prepared to be isolated for up to 14 days, which means you have to stay in your home, you have to stay in your apartment. And in New York, it's easy because you can get anything delivered to your apartment. But if you live in suburbia or outside, you
have to make arrangements.
You have to make arrangements to do that. You have to have food delivered.
And is there any medicine you can take to ease the symptoms or make things a little bit more comfortable for yourself?
The typical
aspirin,
things,
I guess.
Aspirin, Tylenol, acetaminophen, things like that. Yes.
Right. But no.
Drink water. Drink a lot of water.
No cure.
There is no specific prescription that doctor can write out.
So I have this little chart, which again probably will be dated by tomorrow, but this little chart shows what happened with the other pandemics or epidemics, Ebola, SARS, MERS. They were nowhere near these numbers. I mean, in the case of MERS, there were only 2,494 cases and 858 deaths. But it was a 34% fatality rate.
Fatality rate.
And with SARS, there were only 8,000 cases, 774 deaths. I mean, we're 10 times SARS already in terms of the number of cases.
Right. But the
10 times.
10 times, and it's going to grow. Remember, because it's similar to the common flu. The way it transfers from human to human, it's not from an animal to a human. It's not from a mosquito to a human. It's human to human, and it's through coughing and through the particles that we come up when we cough.
They only the most that were affected were 29 countries with SARS. We're already in 68 countries or more.
Right.
But the only hopeful news out of this is all of those were almost double-digit or more than double-digit fatality rates. Ebola, 41%,
right,
40%. And this is now, it's already down to, at the point the chart was done, it was 3%.
Right.
So now it's down to about 1.
When you look at how far it's traveled and why has it traveled, I mean, we talked about this a little bit earlier. China did not really tell the world what was going on. People continued to travel. There's a lot of business that's done in China, especially in the Wuhan area. A lot of manufacturing is done there. A lot of people travel there. A lot of people travel back, and a lot of people
relatively close to Beijing.
Right, relatively close. And of course, you got other parts of the world. Japan is in.
And people might think it's it's not Beijing, so its population is 11 million people, and that's bigger than New York City and almost the size of metropolitan area of New York.
Right.
It's a lot of people. There's no place in China without a lot of people.
I know. I was going to say, China's got a lot of people everywhere. And then you've got situations like in Korea. I mean, there's a lot of business that goes on. But what happened in Korea that made it just explode was, as I understand it, there was one of those unification church weddings where something like 20,000 folks, 20,000 couples, 40,000 people altogether were married in a mass wedding where there was hugging and kissing, etc. And then all of a sudden, there's mass infections going on.
Is there anything to indicate that? One piece of good news that we have is that the cases in China, for now several weeks, they keep going down. There's a downward trend.
Right.
Does that mean that the incubator that started this will produce less, or has it spread enough now that doesn't really matter?
I think it's spread enough, and I think everybody's taking precautions.
Right.
And we're now in March, and most viruses slow down in warmer weather. I'm hoping for the warmer weather as fast as possible. Most medical professionals all believe that viruses really chill out or slow down in warmer weather. That's why we don't have the flu in the summer. Here. It's down in the southern hemisphere at that point. I mean, Australia and other places will have to worry about it at that point, the coronavirus. But I think you'll see a slowdown when that happens.
Does this come back next year then, if that's the case? I mean, is it... some of the others wore themselves out.
I don't know of any virus that's worn themselves out other than polio, because we've done the vaccine. MERS is still going on. SARS is still going on.
They are.
Oh, absolutely.
But in small numbers.
Very small numbers.
And why is that? Why would it be small? How could it get down to small numbers? People develop immunities to it?
People have developed immunities to it. People have become aware of it. We don't know yet whether or not there have been some medical articles lately about reinfection in coronavirus. Right. So we don't know. The whole theory is, you get a shot, you create an antibody. We don't know yet if that is possible with this, with COVID-19, which is the name they've given this coronavirus. Not all viruses have that. Shingles, for example, is a virus.
Right.
And shingles can reoccur, even though, some people believe you get it you get it once, you never get it again. In this particular case, we don't know yet.
Well, this takes me back to our days when we were in City Hall and we were helping to warn people about West Nile virus, about anthrax, about 9/11, and Joe was the best at it. And you can see he's still very good at it. So we're very, very, very lucky to have you in the medical system here in New York. And I thought right before we end, because when I called you up about this, I said, what's the main thing that should be done? And you said more information should be given to people about what to look for, symptoms, and then what to do. Right. It can't be repeated often enough.
It can't be repeated
which
often
we used to
enough.
do 2 or 3 times a day.
Right.
If you remember.
Right.
You often were the guy to do
it. Quite honestly, you know, it's really important for our elected officials, all of our leaders, to talk about what the symptoms are and what it means and what to do. I mean, it's really important. It's not that we as humans have all kinds of anxiety.
Remember when we sprayed the city and people thought we were going to make them impotent?
I do remember that. I do remember that. I remember a lot of things.
There were a couple of communities got really upset. They thought we were doing it to try to hold down
their birth rate, and I understand that. I understand.
And then
that
the people that were afraid of
we thought we were going to
chemical. The real danger.
Right,
the danger was if you put your nose in the
that's right.
in the hose. Like
we put out a lot of warnings ahead of time.
I think you warned people not to do that one
we
time.
kept warning everybody.
Just do not put your nose in the
We did
in
it
the
at
hose.
night, so most people were asleep, and so we would spray. And more importantly, remember the problem was ponding, puddles, making sure that people got rid of the puddles.
The second year, we attacked those the larvae.
The larvae.
Remember,
right,
we
that's
attacked.
Exactly right.
We started in April, or no, actually in March.
Mosquitoes were the enemy. Let's
We
get
were
rid of the bugs.
blowing away still water.
Right. Exactly right.
So
Which every time I see,
go ahead, every time
I see these ponds growing in different parts of the city, I think of the same thing. Fix that pothole. That thing's going to become infested.
But don't you think that because our doctors, because I mean we were the beneficiaries, if they told us, because they found West Nile virus so quickly, and even insisted on it against the advice of CDC, don't you think that thing was held down dramatically?
It was held down, but I've got to tell you, it was the first to happen in Queens. If you followed it every year, no matter where I was, somewhere in the country, especially when USA Today was still around, it used to be, you know, outside of government, traveling for business. I would get USA Today, and inevitably at some point they would put a map to show where West Nile was. Every state in the continental United States, all 48 states at one point had a case of West Nile. And I was always amazed that it spread all the way across the country. And just before came on the show with you, I actually looked. It's gone all the way up to Alaska, and it's gone down through Central America and South America.
But in small, containable, not a pandemic.
It's not a pandemic, but it has spread.
Right,
I mean, for something that has never been here before.
Yeah, well, viruses are powerful. So
so
we're just going to review. I have this little chart here that I got from the CDC. We're going to review the key points, which is what to look for.
Fever, cough, sore throat. I forgot about
And the key one you say that's a differentiator is difficulty breathing.
Right.
But anybody who has any of these things is going to automatically assume they have it. And you say the best thing to do,
call a doctor.
Call the doctor instead of getting on public transportation.
Don't get into a crowded place.
Yeah, don't possibly hurt other people.
I'll use the word that they use in cancer. You go into a crowded place, and if you are positive, you're going to infect everybody. You're going to metastasize this problem. Don't do that.
And now the advice about avoiding it. It says here, avoid contact with sick people, animal markets, wash hands often.
Right.
With soap and water for at least 20 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel sick, seek medical care right away.
Right.
Instead of walking around. Don't travel while you're sick.
Yep.
And
cover your mouth when you cough.
Cover your mouth when you cough. And as I said at the beginning, probably the hardest of all, because I did it 3 times, I noticed, during this broadcast, don't touch your eyes or mouth.
Don't touch your eyes or mouth. Don't
because people are so used to doing it.
Right.
And I think if we do these things...
And don't get a mask. You don't need to wear a surgical mask. You don't need to do that.
People could be doing it for drama too, though.
Right. Well, actually, you can go onto Etsy and those places. They'll make one for you with your name on it and stuff like that. It's silly. It's absolutely silly.
And the hospital, is it ready for it?
The hospitals in New York are ready for it.
Is your hospital as ready for it as it used to have the city ready for everything?
We are ready for it. We've been prepping. The head of emergency management at
Langone NYU Medical Center.
Right.
One of our great hospitals.
Right. Ken's name is in the second place, but it's NYU Langone.
If you know Ken, you put his name in the first place.
So I never forget Ken.
I do that on purpose. Well, I have to tell you, Joe, it's been really, really interesting. I think it's a real public service because not only do you explain things? You explain them in a way that people can access.
Invite me back sometime. We'll talk about rats in the good old days.
Joe was the rat king.
Rat czar.
The rat czar, and he had a big rat right near his office.
Right.
This man probably has killed more rats than anyone in America. But Joe, I hate to disillusion you. They're still there.
Yeah.
In big numbers. Those guys have been around a long time.
I remember telling our least favorite newspaper, the New York Times, that if becoming the rat czar, I know exactly what Sisyphus felt like. It's a no winning battle at all.
But I have to tell you, people were laughing here. This man was very serious about his job as the rat czar. He was very serious about everything.
Well, you went on, was it David Letterman? Mm-hmm. People woke me up. I was asleep. You were on David Letterman, and you announced that.
Oh, that we're going to get rid of the rats?
Guys, I got my MBA with. You announced my name, and then I was the rat czar. It's like, wait.
I didn't call you czar, though, did I?
Oh, yeah.
I'm the one who gave you the name czar?
Yes.
Oh, my God, I'm sorry, Joe.
No, that's okay.
I didn't mean to do that. I've always been against the idea
of endearment. I mean,
I've always been against czars because of what happened to the last czar.
Hey, that's okay.
Right? I mean, it didn't make it.
That's all right.
The
other thing is, just like West Nile, and what brings it up is rats are not indigenous to the United States. They were brought here on boats.
In other words, are they illegal? Were they illegal?
That's right. They are.
They were not.
It's a Norwegian rat. It came over on a wooden boat.
Look at that.
It's amazing. And they're everywhere.
They are everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Well, I have to tell you that your hospital's in good hands, and the city of New York is in good hands. We've got the best medical people in the world. I think the people in the city can be confident, and I think people throughout the country can. Mm-hmm. It seems to me that the federal government is doing what it should be doing quickly, and it looks to me like the state and local governments are all understand this is too big for any kind of silly bureaucratic or political.
As you know, it's up to state and local governments. They're the troops on the ground. They've got to be in the lead.
I mean, if I could use an illustration when people would ask me about Katrina and contrast it with September 11, I said September 11 was a situation in which the city government ran together with the state government. In fact, we ran it together for 2 months.
Unified.
We had staff meetings two and three times a day, and ran seamlessly with the federal government. Katrina, we had the mayor fighting with the governor, fighting with the president, and I think that was the difference.
We had a mayor that fled and went to another state.
I thought,
Katrina. He went to Houston, the mayor of New Orleans.
Yeah, I remember. He also stayed on a boat a couple of times.
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
In any event, we don't have that now. We have good coordination and some very good advice from Joe Lhota. So thanks a lot, Joe.
Thanks, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Wait.
Oh, fist bump. Right.
Okay.
That's all right.
Thank you, Joe. We'll be back with you with our next episode. And until then, thank you very much. And listen to Joe Lhota's advice. He has some very, very good advice. And just don't touch the eyes and the mouth, which is the one I'm going to have to work on. Okay.